What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, Under Center with Abelson, presented by the Real Spiel podcast. We are back. Week 9 is in the books. Another crazy weekend of college football, as always. It was one of those weekends where, again, we didn't have a bunch of high-level, high-ranked matchups, but it's always those weekends where something crazy is going to happen. We had some craziness happen. We had some results that are going to, either set programs back a little bit or set programs forward a little bit. Who knows? Only time will tell. But we do have a jam-packed show, so I don't want to waste too much time. Gonna go over some of these recaps of some of these games. We are going to touch on some of the firings and, news around the country. LSU, obviously. Gonna talk about, some of the coaching searches and who I think may be the best candidates. And then we're going to go over my updated top 25. Every Monday, we like to give our top 25 because we know we cannot trust the AP. Only got a couple more weeks of dealing with the AP, so they'll be out of our hairs. And then we'll be out of here. Don't want to keep you guys too long. But before we get into it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. As always, we're here a couple times a week talking all things college football. So let's get into it. We did not have the best weekend with our picks. I knew this was coming. I knew it was coming. It was due. It was only a matter of time because the last 2 weeks we were on an absolute heater. Last weekend we went 4-1. The weekend before we went 5-2. So in the sports world or in the sports betting world, after you're on a hot streak, it's only downhill from there. We went 1-4 or 1-3 this weekend. We were wrong about Oklahoma. We were wrong about USF. We were wrong about Vandy. We were right about Texas A&M. I felt like that was one of the most easiest games to pick all weekend. I did not think LSU was going to do anything. But yeah, we were wrong about some stuff. We were right about some stuff. We were wrong about a lot of stuff. Barely right about anything. But yeah, not great, not bad. Good thing another weekend is upon us. Another weekend to step it back up and get back in the win column. Again, I quickly wanted to touch over some of the recaps of these games. We can start in Norman, Oklahoma with Ole Miss versus Oklahoma. We liked Oklahoma minus 4.5. I thought this would be, a particularly tough spot for Ole Miss, especially Chambliss. He did impress me last weekend on the road against Georgia, but in my opinion, I think Oklahoma's defense has been better than Georgia's defense this year, especially on the line of scrimmage and getting pressure on the quarterback and the pass rushing. Obviously, Oklahoma leads the country in sacks. So I thought, and especially the way the fourth quarter ended for Ole Miss against Georgia, I thought, if Oklahoma was watching film on that they may have found some stuff that would have kind of turned the game around and gave them the edge. And I was wrong a little bit. I was right a little bit. I mean, it was a competitive game. Oklahoma definitely had their chances to win. Early offensively, the offense for Oklahoma looked pretty good. It looked pretty decent. The defense looked good outside the first few drives for Ole Miss. Once Oklahoma's defense kind of got settled, they started kind of getting a home on Chambliss, getting him some pressure. Chambliss was having to use his legs a lot early in the game to kind of neutralize the pass rush and evade the pass rush. But as the game went on, it kind of felt like Ole Miss was starting to control it. It's crazy because Oklahoma kind of weathered the storm and they took the lead at one point, 25-24 or 26-25. And I thought that was going to be the moment where they kind of separated and kind of took the game over, but Ole Miss again staying in there. Lane Kiffin, I mean, he just has these guys playing on a different level this year. I didn't bet against Ole Miss because I doubted them. I know Ole Miss is a good team. I know they're legit this year. I don't think anything that Ole Miss is doing this year is any type of fluke, any type of Cinderella thing. I think they are legit a good team, but again, I thought Oklahoma being at home, the defense they've been playing this year, another game with John Mateer, he didn't really look the best. That was another game where I thought he was going to take another step. I thought he was going to kind of knock a little more of that rust off that we saw, and he really didn't. I mean, he went, 17 for 31, 223 yards. I mean, he threw for 7 yards a pass, and he didn't have any turnovers. That was the good thing, but again, he didn't play necessarily great. Again, the John Mateer that we saw early in the year, I don't think he's going to be coming back. He did. I'm not gonna say he run. I mean, he was gone from that hand surgery for 2 weeks, and I think last year Mizzou's quarterback, was it Brady Cook? I think it was Brady Cook. No, I'm tripping. It was Curtis Work. Curtis Work for Indiana. He had the same, I'm pretty sure the same injury last year with his hand. And Indiana was a team who, was kind of dominating up until that point. I think he missed a game or two, came back, and Indiana just really wasn't the same team anymore offensively. They were still good, but they still weren't really what they were up until that point. And I think this is going to be one of the same things. I think Oklahoma, I think that hand injury, although he might be able to play, although, it might not be hindering and it might, relatively be healed, quote unquote. I think that hand is giving him, somewhat of a problem because he just has not looked as good as he did earlier in the season, and the schedule's going to only get tougher. I mean, they play Missouri. I think they still play Tennessee. They play Alabama, and Oklahoma. It's going to be tough for Oklahoma, man. It's going to be tough because I think it's starting to get exposed a little bit because early in the year, Oklahoma looked good, but John Mateer was having to put them on kind of their back offensively because they couldn't run the ball earlier in the year, and John Mateer was having to run the ball, throw the ball, and kind of put a cape on. And I think the success they were having kind of masked the fact that offensively they weren't maybe as great as they looked because post-injury, when he's not really in a position medically to kind of carry the load, and when he's still trying to knock some rust off, we've seen that often struggle. We've seen it struggle a lot, and I think that's a product of the injury, man. I really think it is. I don't want to take anything away from Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. Their defense played. I think that's the story of this game. Their defense played absolutely incredible, so you have to tip your cap off to Ole Miss. And if you're Ole Miss, man, you play. The rest of the schedule is pretty easy, man. You play Mississippi State, you play Citadel, you play Florida. I mean, I don't see a reason why they should drop another game. And if you're Mississippi State, you could have a chance to go to the SEC championship game. Even if you don't, you're going to be in the playoffs. Don't pull what you did last year where you lost the games you shouldn't have lost down the stretch. Handle business, take care of business, and Ole Miss should be fine. Vandy and Missouri. This is another game that we got wrong. It was close, though. Again, in my preview, I talked about how these two teams were probably, in my opinion, the most underrated teams in the country. More Missouri than Vandy, because over the last few weeks, I think Vandy has started to get the flowers they deserve. They started to, obviously, game day was there. They've been getting hyped up and everything. So it was kind of more Missouri, but, Vandy I still think was slightly underrated. But this game, this game was ugly, man. This game was, in the first half, it depends on what type of game you like to watch. I like ball, so whether it's a defensive slugfest or an offensive shootout, I'm still going to like it. But I think we can admit that offensively, it was a very ugly performance from both teams. It was 3-3 at halftime. Both defenses were playing absolutely incredible. Missouri's pass rush was playing amazing. Vandy's rush defense was playing great. And the offenses really just couldn't get anything going. And it was ugly from the standpoint of there was just so many terrible penalties. Every time a team, Missouri and Vandy, every time it looked like they got a good drive going together, every time it looked like they were about to get in scoring range in the red zone, they'd get a terrible penalty that would take them out of scoring range in terms of getting an easy touchdown, and then they'd get another penalty that would take them out of field goal range. They'd get a sack that would take them out of field goal range, loss of downs, loss of yards, and that was just kind of the story of the first half. It was very ugly, a lot of penalties, a lot of sloppiness, great defense. Both quarterbacks, not really doing anything crazy to kind of help their teams be effective and score the ball. And again, it was 3-3 at halftime. I think I will give credit, obviously, Bo Prabula. He hurt his ankle, which it looked a lot worse than what I think the prognosis actually was. They're saying it's just some type of, it was, kind of like a severely twisted ankle. There may be some ligament damage, but from what I've seen, he's not going to need surgery on it. But they still don't know if he's going to be able to get back by the end of the year, so that'll be to be determined. But the backup, I think he was a true freshman, number 5. I forgot his name. He came in and he honestly played a lot better than I expected him to. I do still think that's why, yeah, I got this one wrong, but I'm curious to see how the game would have gone if Bo Pribula did stay healthy. Because, although the backup in that position did play well, he got a touchdown. He actually played well because he got that Hail Mary he had a chance, tied or down 7 to drive the field. He got his team down there. He threw the Hail Mary, and was it Cam Coleman? He caught the ball. He caught the ball, and he was just short. He caught the ball on like the half-yard line, Hail Mary attempt, and it was just so short. So that's a great effort by the backup to come in that position. But again, I'm curious to see how things would have maybe shifted, how things would have gone if Bo Pribula was healthy and did finish that game. But nonetheless, Vandy, they continue to kind of do what they're kind of doing. What really broke the game open for Vandy was the rushing attack. They had that 80-yard rushing touchdown that gave them the lead 10-3. But Mizzou did come back, tie the ball game. It was 10-10. And then Vandy in the late fourth quarter, Diego Pavia, putting his team on his back, getting his team down the field, scores that, 2, 3, 4-yard rushing touchdown. And again, Mizzou couldn't tie the game. Very great opportunity got a chance to, but couldn't tie the game. But you're going to have a couple of those games, man, where it's just going to be defensive slugfest. It's going to be a tight, close game. You're going to have penalties. Things are going to be sloppy. And it's just a play or two here or there that kind of will turn the game, man. That will kind of turn the game. And Vandy was able to make enough of those plays to turn the game. They continue their incredible season. It's going to be curious to see where Missouri goes from this, because, again, Bo Pribula, even if he does come back, it might not be towards the very end of the season, so it's curious to see where Mizzou is around that time. Like I said, I do like what I saw against or with their backup in the game. And let's look at Missouri's schedule. Missouri, from my understanding, it's not. So it's pretty tough. They got Texas A&M, they got Mississippi State, they got Oklahoma, and they got Arkansas. So not terrible, but not easy. That's going to be at least they have the Missouri or the Texas A&M game at home, so that'll be good for their backup quarterback. Mississippi State, they're pretty good this year. They're pretty solid, but they've lost. The thing with Mississippi State, when you're a bad team, you actually have to learn how to win. Learning how to win is a skill and a trait, and you can see Mississippi State is not there yet. They let that game go against Tennessee. The game against who was it? They played. Who was it that Mississippi State played last week? Florida. The game against Florida they let slip. The game against Texas, they should have easily won that game. And so that's a team that's going to have to learn how to win. But nonetheless, Missouri, Ahmad Hardy's going to have to step it up. He's going to have to kind of get back to who he was in those first 5 games where he was running for well over 100 yards and leading the nation in rushing. He's kind of gone off the deep in the last couple games, not really running as effectively as he was. And when you have a backup quarterback playing, starting, you're going to have to, the offensive line, the defense, everything around him is going to have to click. So Ahmad Hardy's going to have to step it up, and I'm curious to see where Missouri kind of goes from this. I think probably the game that, in terms of impact, the game that had the most impact on Saturday was clearly LSU versus Texas A&M. This was interesting because I had to go back and rewatch this whole game because I was at the Louisville game and they were going at the same time. And I tried to watch the game on my phone, but you're at a live game, you kind of get distracted, and I just ended up turning it off and saving it on DVR. YouTube TV is so clutch, man. I love YouTube TV. You can literally save any live event and go back and watch it. So I'll always save all the college football games on Saturdays, and the games that I can't get to, I just go back and rewatch and skip through the plays that don't matter and skip through the commercials. And you can get a game in like 30, 45 minutes, man. I love it, man. I love it. But yeah, because I was watching the score live, or I was checking up on the score while I was at the Louisville game, and at halftime it was like 15-14, and then I didn't check the score for the rest of the game, and then later that night I checked the score again, and I saw Texas A&M won 49-25, and I was jaw dropped because I literally kept asking myself like, what the hell happened? It was 15-14 at halftime, and the game ends 49-25. And so I went through and watched the game, and you started to realize what kind of happened. LSU started out pretty good, man. They started out really good. The defense particularly started out incredible. They got 2 picks on Marcel Reed. They got a punt block. They almost got a safety. They were playing extremely well, man. And, the offense is doing enough to score the ball, obviously 15-14. No, they did get a safety. They didn't almost got a safety. They did get a safety, yeah, because that's what made it from, 7 to 9 points. Yeah, they did get a safety. And the offense was playing well. It was playing pretty good, but at halftime, I don't know what Mike Elko said to his team, but they just came out a completely different team and just stepped on LSU's neck. And the offense of LSU just completely halted in that second half, in the third quarter specifically. They just couldn't get it going. Texas A&M started getting insane amount of pressure on LSU. I think they sacked LSU 7 times. And from there, it was just all Texas A&M. The KC Concepcion punt return is what started it and broke the game open. The punt return defense of LSU was just pathetic, man. Every single time that Texas A&M got a punt, it felt like they were returning the ball for like 20, 30, 40 yards and setting up Texas A&M with good field position. Marcel Reed didn't even have the best game. He got a safety. He got 2 turnovers. He threw a pick in the end zone when they were about to score. That's another thing. The score was they scored 49 points. Texas A&M could have scored way more points, But yeah, Marcel Reed, he didn't even have the best game. I think he threw for 57% completion percentage. Let's take a look. Yeah, he threw 12 for 21, 202 yards. He threw 2 interceptions, 57% completion rating. But it was the run game. I said in my preview, that's one of the reasons why I liked Texas A&M. LSU cannot defend the quarterback run. They cannot defend the quarterback run to save their lives. Diego Pavia, I think, ran for 86 yards on them. Sorry, my nose is itching. Chambliss ran for 75-ish yards on them. Marcel Reed ran for 108 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. That's just something LSU has not been able to do all year, is defend the run. And LSU ran for a lot of it was for Marcel Reed, but LSU ran Texas A&M ran for 224 yards on the ground. And yeah, LSU, the ropes were slipping out of their hands, and they could just do nothing to get the rope back in. Nussmeier looked banged up. He looked hurt. The pass rush of Texas A&M was just getting home on LSU, and Mike Elko was not pulling. He was not letting up, man. He was not letting up. It was full speed ahead until the clock strikes 0. Obviously, we know what transpired and stemmed from the results of this game. But yeah, I think it's safe to say LSU season, I'm not going to say it's over. They still have talent on that team. They can still manage to win, 7 games. They're 5 and something. They can still manage to have a pretty relatively good season, but yeah, it's going to be tough for them to be. Their playoff chances are over. They've lost 3 games. They're not going to make the playoffs. But yeah, tough if you're LSU. I want to quickly just touch up on some of the other action that we saw across the country. Let's see. Virginia, I'm a Louisville fan, so I was rooting for North Carolina. North Carolina almost pulled the upset off That game went to overtime. Virginia just squeaked it out, made enough plays. I'm not mad at excuse me. I'm not mad at Bill Belichick for going for two. I think that was in overtime. He went for two in overtime. I'm not mad about that because, I mean, when you're a team who's kind of been struggling, your season's kind of already over. He had absolutely nothing to lose in that situation. If you go for two and you get it, you put the other team in a serious opportunity. I think he would have. I think they would have won. No, they would have won. Yeah, they would have won because I think Virginia scored first and then North Carolina scored. They went for two to try and win the game. The dude got tackled like right on the 1 yard line. So I am not mad about that at all. Nothing to lose. You might as well go for it. South Florida and Memphis. This is another one of my picks that we didn't hit on. We should have hit on it. I mean, South Florida was controlling this game up until the fourth quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, it just all went to shit. They got outscored 17-0 in the fourth quarter. I think they missed the potentially game-winning or tying field goal, and obviously Memphis does win this one. Alabama, South Carolina. I didn't pick this game like on like my quote unquote locks, but I touched on this game and talked on it. And I thought Alabama was going to cover. I know people were talking. There was a lot of talks about trap game. Bryce Williams Stadium, trap game. I just wasn't really hearing it because I have not been impressed with South Carolina all year. But credit to them. They played their best defensive performance of the year. They were getting pressure on Ty Simpson, kind of disrupting him, but Alabama making just enough plays. Bernard running it in the end zone with like 30 seconds left to get the win. Tough if you're South Carolina because you had the chances. You had your chances early in the first half. You missed a field goal. You had that pick six on that screenplay that bobbled into the receiver's hand, and Alabama defender was just right there and ran it back. Very, very tough if you are South Carolina. Tennessee took care of business at home against Kentucky. Houston, man, shout out to Houston. Them Cougs, they just keep winning. They get a huge win against Arizona State in Tempe, I should say. Houston, man, they're 7-1. They are quietly just kind of staying at the top of the Big 12, up in the top of the Big 12. Texas, Mississippi State. I mean, what is Texas doing? I mean, credit to them for coming back and winning the game, but like, you go down 17 points, and you have to come back 17 points in the fourth quarter. Mississippi State, another one. Like I said earlier, teams that aren't good, there's levels. You lose big, then you lose small. You win small, then you win big. Those are the steps for teams who are trying to turn around their programs. Mississippi State is in that kind of trying to turn around the program stage where, they're the time management, game management, winning close games is a trait, and they're still learning how to close out games. Closing out games is a trait, and again, they still just can't close games out, man. They cannot close games out. But albeit, I think Mississippi State. If you're a Mississippi State fan, you have to be happy with what you've seen from this team this year. I think it's a dramatic turnaround from last year. Didn't they go 2-10 last year? I think. I don't think they won a single SEC game last year. And they've been competitive this year. They've been extremely competitive, but again, you just got to learn, how to win those close games and close teams out. All right, next up, I want to get into this LSU conversation because obviously, maybe you've been living under a rock and haven't heard. Brian Kelly is out at LSU. They have decided to let him go after that Saturday night performance. I think the writing was on the wall. I wasn't surprised, but I thought if LSU's season kind of went to shit towards the end of the year, that they'd start having conversations about letting him go because LSU is one of those jobs that they don't play. They're not, sorry, my nose is just on fire right now. They're not one of those Penn State jobs who will let you be average for 10 years like James Franklin. They expect to win championships. They have had a championship-winning coach. The last three of their coaches have won championships. Ed Orgeron, Les Miles, Nick Saban, and they all did it before year 4 was up. And Brian Kelly hasn't even made the playoffs. So I know 2 of those years, and his best year was his first year. They made it to the SEC championship game, and 2 of those years, this is going to be the second year of the 12-team playoff, and you can't even compete. You can't even get close to the 12-team playoff because last year they lost 4 games. They've already lost the third game this year. So I think if you're LSU, obviously you wanted to make that coaching change. He really never was a fit. I know people always bring up that the press conference or whatever when he was speaking to the students or whatever at the football game or whatever it was or the basketball game, and he put on that fake LSU accent. I think that kind of was an embodiment of how his time at LSU went. He was never a true LSU guy. You hear the stories about when he came in, he fired a bunch of the LSU native staff who was there. And I think it's kind of funny that the strength and conditioning coach is now at Texas A&M, and his team just out physicaled and out handled LSU. And I think LSU fans they're not really patient, man. They expect to win. They expect to win championships because what else do they know? They've known decades of coaches coming in and being able to win. But yeah, I think LSU is easily the best job in the country at this point. I think it's clearly above, not clearly, but it's definitely above Florida. It's above Penn State. Obviously, LSU, they have the resources. They have the recruiting. People who grow up in LSU want to play for LSU, or people who grow up in Louisiana want to play for LSU, so recruiting is always there. And yeah, I've never been big on Brian Kelly. I liked him when he was at Notre Dame, but I just have not really been extremely high on him as a coach. He's a good coach, don't get me wrong. He's a good coach, but he just can't get his teams to that next level. He just can't. We've seen it twice. Obviously, Notre Dame did make a national championship game, but they weren't competitive in the national championship game. And with the moment he leaves, Marcus Freeman comes in and he elevates that team to higher levels. I know people are as far as the candidates. I just think it would be the funniest thing ever if LSU somehow got Marcus Freeman, and Marcus Freeman comes in and then does the same thing, takes LSU to the national championship game or brings them to new heights. That'd be insane for the same coach to take your spot, 2 times and to just completely elevate the team after that. But yeah, as far as, the coaching candidates you've been hearing, obviously Lane Kiffin, Marcus Freeman, they're saying, but he turned, because I don't know how true the reports were, but I saw some reports that, I don't know if I saw anything official, but I saw the reports that Florida reached out to Marcus Freeman and he said no, so I'm not sure. I don't think Marcus Freeman's going to leave. I think he loves Notre Dame. I think he's having incredible success at Notre Dame. He was the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, so he's been there for a while, and I think he's really starting to get his feet set down there or up there. So I don't know, but obviously, if you are LSU, you are going to reach out to any and everybody. You'd be doing yourself a discredit if you don't at least make people say no to you. I know people are saying Dan Lanning, but Dan Lanning turned down Alabama. I don't even think he took an interview for Alabama. He doesn't want to. I don't think he's going to leave Oregon. I saw some people say Nick Saban and Urban Meyer. I think Nick Saban has clearly made it. See, Nick Saban doesn't want to coach. I don't think he wants to coach. And Urban Meyer, I think he might be done. I'd be very surprised if he came back in. Obviously, Kirk Cignetti signed that massive contract with Indiana, so he's not. Yeah, I think if you're LSU, it's honestly between Lane Kiffin and John Summerall, because John Summerall has obviously been a big name in the coaching searches for the last couple of years, but he hasn't been wanting to leave Tulane, and he wouldn't even have to move. Maybe he would have to move, but it's right in his backyard. Tulane, LSU, he's right there. I think that'd be a big name, but it's gonna be curious. I'm gonna be very interested to see where this goes, where the coaching searches go. This has been a crazy coaching carousel so far. Obviously, we've had Sam Pittman out in Arkansas, James Franklin at Penn State, Billy Napier. Now we got Brian Kelly. I think we're clearly seeing a shift where teams and programs are not wanting to be patient. It's kind of a different era of college football where, a lot of these coaches who get hired are starting to win fast. They're winning fast and early. So when you get hired and you're not producing early, like Louisville, for example, and that's another name. Don't you dare try and touch Jeff Brom, man. No, don't offer him the position, because that's another name I've been hearing going around is Jeff Brom for some of these positions. No. Stay away. I don't want to hear any of it. Stay away. But yeah, a lot of these coaches, all these new coaches are having success early. So I think when other programs see, oh yeah, we got a guy, and there's people around the country, Dan Lanning, he's won early in his time at Georgia or at Oregon. Obviously, I just said Jeff Brom. He's won the most games. He's won the most games in the ACC in his first 2.5 years. He's won 26 ACC games, and that's the most wins in the ACC in the last 2.5 years. Other guys who, like Kirk Cignetti, he's only lost one game. He's lost 2 games since he's been there. He's won. I can't do that quick math, but he's only lost 2 games since he's been there. So yeah, you see all these teams around the country having early success when it comes to hiring new coaches. So that's another reason why teams just have a short leash now. They don't want to wait around, especially with all the money that's getting poured into these teams and these rosters. They don't want to wait around. So it's going to be very interesting to see who takes this LSU job. I'm excited to see it. But yeah, LSU has an opening, so put in your LinkedIn applications. Lastly, before we do get out of here, I do want to go over my Week 10 top 25. The APs is out. I'll put it on one of these sides, and then I'll throw mine up there as well. For my AP top 25, we got Ohio State at number 1, Indiana at number 2, Texas A&M at number 3, Alabama at number 4, Georgia at 5. We have Ole Miss at 6. We got Vandy at 7. Oregon at 8, Miami at 9, Georgia Tech at 10. We got BYU at 11, Texas Tech at 12, Louisville at 13, Virginia at 14, Notre Dame at 15. We got Cincinnati at 16, Oklahoma at 17, Tennessee at 18, Michigan at 19, Missouri at 20. We got Houston at 21, Washington at 22, Iowa at 23, Utah at 24, and Texas at 25. We had to correct ourselves from last week. Last week we had Bama over Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M proved that they are the third best team in the country with that statement win at LSU. Alabama struggling a little bit on the road at South Carolina. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was I have Ole Miss and Vandy ahead of Oregon. I think Oregon. Again, they are a good team. I think Oregon is a national championship contender. They are a good team. I think they're slightly being overrated, though. Slightly, because I think they're at 6 in the AP poll. Outside of the Penn State win, that win is not as great as it was at the time, which I hate docking teams for how their wins age, but that's just part of it, man. That's part of it. Penn State's clearly, they fired their coach. Like, they're clearly not the team they used to be. So I think that, and outside of that, they struggled against Wisconsin. They beat Rutgers. Their next best win is Oklahoma State. And I think Ole Miss and Vandy both have better resumes. Ole Miss has a win over Oklahoma on the road. Vandy's beaten Missouri, who's a good win. They beat LSU. So yeah, I think Oregon, again, don't get me wrong, I think Oregon is still a national championship contender. When it comes to like the top 10, like 1 through 5, when it comes to the rankings of the top 10, how it is right now, I think it's really just splitting hairs and nitpicking at this point. These teams are so close together that it's just splitting hairs. I think Indiana and Ohio State have kind of separated, and maybe Texas A&M, but it's kind of just splitting hairs. What else? I have Louisville ahead of Virginia. I know some people might say, "Oh, Virginia beat Louisville." I think when records are similar, which both of these teams are, I think, 5-1, 6-1. Records are similar. I don't think head-to-head is the most important factor. Especially, I know Virginia did beat Louisville, but it was an overtime game. It was a close game. It's not like they just absolutely dominated them. But I mean, Virginia's best win is Florida State, who isn't really good anymore. They lost to Stanford. Outside, they barely beat North Carolina. they barely beat North Carolina. It took an overtime. North Carolina's at the bottom of the ACC, and it took an overtime and a game-saving interception and a failed 2-point conversion to beat, North Carolina. And I think Louisville's resume is better. Obviously, they have that win over Miami, JMU, who is one of the best group of 5 teams out there. That I know it's a group of 5 team, but they are one of the better group of 5 teams, and they're, I think, like 27, 28 in terms of like the AP rankings when you look at the other receiving votes. So they're up there. They have a good win against a Pitt team. So I think Louisville's resume is just slightly better than Virginia's. That's why I have them higher. Notre Dame and Tennessee, these are kind of some teams that are in the same boat for me. These are teams who, in the AP, they're getting propped up by their losses. Tennessee's 2 losses are to Bama and Georgia. Notre Dame's is to Texas A&M and Miami. I don't think losses should be what's prompting and boosting your resume. You know what I'm saying? Like when your best points of your resume is your losses, then I think, that's a question for like why are you ranked so high? So I think Notre Dame is 12 in the AP and Tennessee is 14. I think both of those teams are slightly overrated. I mean, Notre Dame does have a good win against USC, but Tennessee, I mean, their best win is Arkansas, Syracuse, Kentucky. Like, again, they have their chances. Notre Dame not so much. They don't really play another. I think they play Navy. That's actually going to be if you're Notre Dame, you better hope Navy continues to play how they're playing because that could be a ranked game to help boost your resume. But Tennessee, yeah, they're going to have their chances. They play Oklahoma. I think they still play Vanderbilt, so they're going to have their chances to kind of turn things around and not turn things around, but to show that they're a legit team. We added Houston, Washington, and Iowa in our rankings. Houston 7-1. They just beat Arizona on the road, or Arizona State on the road. I don't think it's a team that's getting talked about enough. Their only loss is to Texas Tech. Washington, they just stomped Illinois. They're an underrated team. Iowa, I mean, it's not always pretty, but they've been getting the job done. I took Minnesota plus 8.5 plus 10.5, and they just stopped. I looked at the first quarter. The score was 17-0. I think it was 30-0 at one point. Iowa, they've been winning, man. They've been winning. They played Indiana to 5 points. But yeah, these are my rankings. Let me know. If I missed a team, let me know who's ranked too high, who's ranked too low, who I should have added, who I should have taken away. So. Yeah, that is all we have for this episode. Tried to keep it under 40 minutes. We did it. We got there. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to drop, some other episodes this week, a preview. We might try and get another episode in this week. We're nearing the home stretch, man. We are nearing the home stretch. We're in week 10. There are 4 more official weeks, because of the 2 byes. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty of the season, man. This season absolutely flew by. So we got the first college football playoff ranking, I think, next week. And from there, it's conference resume building time. It's time for these teams to try and get into the conference championship races and try and make a bid for the playoffs, man. So stay tuned because we are going to always have a lot of discussions down the stretch. So like, comment, subscribe if you've made it this far. I appreciate you for listening. Thank you.